I'll go on stage with an idea and then just hash it out and try to work it out until I have a nice little bit.
Mike Ball is a national touring headlining comedian and the producer of the Future of Comedy show. With over 500 shows produced, Ball has a 5-star comedian and top performer rating on Gig Salad and is the winner of the Best Event in Midland in 2019. He has opened for comedy legends including Ralphie May, Dave Landau, and Rob Little, to name a few. Mike Ball will be performing at the historic Temple Theater in the Leopard Lounge on March 5th. Mike Ball, thank you so much for being on the Temple Arts podcast here. We are certainly looking forward to your show in the Leopard Lounge over at the Temple Theater on March 5th. I wanted to have a little talk about your background and how you became a comedian and some of the process that's involved in writing jokes and things like that. I guess starting out, what is it about comedy that you find so interesting, or what got you engaged in doing comedy in the first place?
Well, Thor, first of all, thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to the show at the Leopard Lounge coming up here March 5th. What got me into comedy, or what I was interested about it? I think, even starting at, an early age of just making people laugh on the back of the bus, it was a thrill for me. Like I really enjoyed making people laugh and performing for my friends. But like it really didn't hit me till later that you could actually be a stand-up comic, because I'm here. I'm from Saginaw, and there wasn't a ton of comedy going on here. Besides, some stuff actually at the Temple, where I seen my first comedy show. So this is kind of like a nice, circle of life here. I used to work at a bar in downtown Saginaw as a promoter. I used to promote Crazy Country Nights at the Shook, years and years ago. And I saw that Ralphie May was coming to the Temple Theater, and I thought to myself, hey, I would really like to see this guy. So I emailed the promoter and told him I'd add 7,000 people to his Facebook event if I could get 4 free tickets. And I got to see Ralphie May destroy at the Temple Theater. One of the best performances I've ever seen. And I laughed until I cried. The date I brought was very happy with the show. And, kind of seeing him live made it seem that it was a possibility. It could be a reality. And it wasn't until, this guy, I don't want to be a bummer on the podcast, but, my father passed away unexpectedly. And I guess my alarm's going off here. And, it was kind of like one of those life moments where like you kind of like realize that, life is not guaranteed. If you want to do something, you should go for it, because you never know what's going to happen. And, with that, I took off to Los Angeles and stayed on a friend's couch. And I got a job interning for Pauly Shore at the Comedy Store, which has such rich history. I mean, you go in there and you look at the walls and you see Jim Carrey and you see pretty much every comic that that you look up to on the walls there at the Comedy Store, and you go, oh my gosh, this is insane. So I did that, and just really, that was like the beginning of my comedy journey.
Yeah. Well, I'm very sorry for your loss, but it sounds as though you were able to take something bad and turn it around, and really use that opportunity to sort of launch into your passion.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, absolutely.
When you're writing material for a show, I'd love to hear a little more about the way that you do that. Do you have sort of a disciplined process, or are things created in fits and starts? What's sort of the seed of the inspiration that you start with to grow a routine or to grow a joke?
Well, so my buddy Nick Guerra is writing a book on this called The First 5 Minutes. But when you first start out, it's you're just trying to put together 5 minutes because that's all you're gonna get. And in the beginning, if you're thinking about doing stand up and you're like, well, how do I come up with a set? How do I get this off the ground? And the way I did it when I first started was I'd come up with a topic and that I thought was funny, and then try to find like additional jokes called tags. So if you're doing setup punchline, which a lot of jokes are, you do a setup, then you go to your punchline, and then the tags are the additional jokes on the back. So my goal was to make a joke and then add 3 tags to each joke, getting like a nice laughs per minute. Actually, Ralphie May told me this. He said, you want to get like 5 or 6 laughs per minute. And I think, if you listen to Ralphie May, they're laughing the entire time. But, if you're getting that amount, that's a good amount to have a goal for. If you're looking to like break it down in technical terms, but later on in my career, I, a lot of my jokes are written on stage. Because I think that's like the writing is so important. But just on the other side of performing and being comfortable on stage, my goal was just to get as much stage time as possible. That's why I produced a ton of shows with so I got a production called The Future of Comedy Show. Been producing shows for almost 10 years. And I use those just to get as much stage time as possible, get comfortable on stage. And a lot of my jokes, I'll go on stage with an idea and then just hash it out and try to work it out until I have a nice little bit.
Yeah, some of that practice on the fly. I mean, with the kind of work that you're doing, the audience feedback and that relationship with the audience, I imagine, is pretty clear at times, whether that's for the good or for the bad. Tell me a little bit more about how you're able to adjust based on the audience's response, because that's a challenging thing. If you have something fall flatter or something takes off, to either capitalize on something or know to put something away.
Yeah. Well, I like to say that, we get, or at least I get my energy from the audience. I say, they're the sunshine and I'm the solar panel. The more energy they give me, the more I can give back to them. And, like if it's an uncomfortable situation, if something doesn't work out, and if you've done comedy, that's going to happen. It's going to, not everything you're going to say is going to be funny, but the good thing is the longer you do it, you develop a way of just being able to deliver your ideas, and where it just kind of works. But yeah, I've been there where it didn't work, and it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. But that pain of the pain of bombing is the best motivation of all time, because there is nothing worse than having a bad set. I remember when I first started, I took this girl to an open mic in Lansing. We drove all the way from Saginaw, and it's about an hour and a half drive. I'm pumped. I've been doing really good in all my shows before this. This is years ago. And I go there and I bomb. She did not want to look at me the whole car ride home. It was the most embarrassing thing of all time. But I mean, with that, it's like with bombing, you kind of like, if that happens, you're trying to do anything to avoid it. So it's kind of like it's a necessary evil. Like you need to have that feeling of pain just to keep you motivated to keep writing and keep coming up with ideas and staying sharp.
Yeah, it sounds like that there's a degree of grit that's involved in determination to either sink or swim. Like if you give up after you have one of these instances, then you lose everything that you worked on before. So it really sounds like you've been able to use that to push on, to push forward.
Oh yeah. And if you're thinking about doing comedy as a career, it's like you gotta know that's gonna happen. And it happens to everybody. I mean, Dave Chappelle got booed in Detroit, you know what I mean? And that's one of the all-time greats.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned the future comedy productions that you're doing, and that it's sort of a audacious title in some ways, to think that you're creating this future of comedy. Tell me a little bit more about how you got started in producing the shows, and what it's been like to work with other comedians and bring other comedians along for the journey that you're on.
Well, so I'll give you the whole lowdown on it. So the Future of Comedy Show is an audacious name, or, you know, pretty bold to say that. You know, the idea came from when I first started. You know, there wasn't much stage time around in mid Michigan, so I was thinking about putting a show together at this venue, and the talent that I knew were all, you know, open mic comedians, but they were talented, they were funny. And I was trying to pick the guys that I thought had a future in comedy, that these are going to be the next guys. And, you know, some of those guys that were on that first show are still doing comedy professionally. And some of the guys that were on the show have gone on to do the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, like Nick Guerra. My buddy Nick, he came out. He's got on Last Comic Standing, the Tonight Show, HBO special, and you know that's all after he's been on the show. So like it's kind of like one of those things where I believe in these comics. I don't book anybody that I don't think has a legitimate future in comedy. Like, I mean, even just some of the new guys that we got coming up right now that are so hilarious, where I go, oh my gosh, you know, these people are going to make it. Like they're going to do well.
Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to be in a position to elevate others and enable that success, really, to get that ball rolling early on with, you know, the talent that you see, that you're able to create a platform to share that with others.
It's like, you know, I've been doing comedy just over 10 years. And now that I'm, you know, that far in, I feel like I can share, you know, help the younger guys, you know, with just information that nobody's going to tell you unless they care, you know. It was, for instance, go back to Ralphie May at the Temple Theater. I remember how he told me to tell a joke on stage, and he goes, you know, nobody's ever going to tell you this. And he said, when you tell a joke, he said, look left, set up right, punchline in the middle. That's how you draw the whole audience in. You keep them accountable with your eyes. And, you know, that kind of thing that he passed on to me is like the things I'm telling these young guys. And it's like, it's kind of a cool position to be in.
Yeah. Almost a mentorship of sorts, or apprenticeship of some type, right?
Yeah. For the younger guys. And then I'm working with some guys that I'm trying to learn from them. I'm trying to juice them for everything I can learn. Like, hey, what can I do better? What do you think about this? You know, what's the key of getting booked at this club? Or, you know, what do you think is a better use of my time? It's, you know, comedy's a long game. It's a long investment.
If you had sort of like your ideal gig, what would that look like? Or is that what you're doing now with some of the shows and that you're setting up?
Well, I got to be like real honest with you. I'm excited about this March 5th show at the Temple Theater. I mean, you can't really write a better storyline, of seeing one of your heroes do comedy headlining the Temple Theater, and then later on, even though it's the smaller room, it's like I'm still headlining at the Temple Theater, which is like, such a roundabout, you know what I mean? Like, it's so crazy how things just circle like that. But for the gigs I'm doing, I couldn't be any more grateful just to be able to do comedy full time. There's not a better job where you can't really beat it. You get to go make people laugh, and a lot of people appreciate laughs now more than ever. People that maybe have been stuck in quarantine or haven't been going out as much, they forget what it's like to, have a good time and, connect with their friends or with their girlfriend or boyfriend, go on a date and, and just enjoy that magic of laughter.
Well, Mike, we'll look forward to having your name in lights at the Temple Theater in the Leopard Lounge on March 5th. And I really appreciate you sharing a little bit of the background of your story and the journey that you're on.
Well, hey, Thor, I appreciate you talking to me, man. Anytime you want to chat, just give me a ring.
All right, will do.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Temple Arts Podcast. Please consider subscribing to the podcast and making a donation to the arts through SaginawArtMuseum.org or TempleTheater.com. This will allow us to continue to bring enriching program to Saginaw and beyond.